What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be breaking down the best beginner heroes. Now, a lot has changed in Dota since our last video, so hopefully you guys do enjoy, and if you guys learned something, consider subscribing, joining the Dota Chronicles community. I put a lot of effort into these videos, and I want you guys to learn some of these tips and to improve as much as possible. Hopefully you guys do enjoy the video. The first hero we're going to be breaking down is Juggernaut. Juggernaut is one of the easier carries to actually learn and play, and he's also one of the higher impact heroes right now this current patch. He almost has a 52% win rate, especially if you're choosing the fast at Blade Storm. Now that basically means that Blade Fury crits based on the level of Blade Dance, so quite self-explanatory. You're going to be doing much more damage with this fast set. The other fast set is just not as good, so I do recommend this one much more. And Juggernaut is one of these heroes that is not only easy to play, like I mentioned, he also has spell immunity, which is good. So just like heroes like Lifestealer, with your Blade Fury you're able to become spell immune, and that's a very important tool to get rid of a lot of things. It's a really good dispel, and it can get you out of some really sticky situations. It also does a really good amount of damage. Now, some people think that Juggernaut might be a little bit complicated to learn because his Omni Slash bounces a lot, and you can definitely grief with that in terms of missing all the bounces because you did it really close to a creep wave. Now, one of the solutions is don't do it close to a creep wave, and another thing is getting the Aghanim Scepter. It's one of the best things you can build on Jug, and it's just going to provide you with a lot more pace in the team fights, because most heroes that rely a lot on their ultimate tend to be a lot slower, and heroes like Juggernaut definitely depend on the Omni Slash to win a team fight most of the time. So by you not having that on cooldown because you already used it, you're gonna have Swift Slash as a backup. So I do recommend getting the Aghanim Scepter pretty much every single game, unless you're facing up against heroes like Phantom Lancer, and even up against heroes like that I would still Omni Slash, so you can still go for the backline and ignore the illusions. Sure, you're gonna probably miss a bounce here and there, but it's still gonna be nice, especially when it procs with Mjolnir. It's gonna be nice to get rid of those illusions. Definitely one of the best reliable and sustainable carries in the patch, and pretty much always going to be quite reliable, especially with your healing ward. You're able to sustain your team. You're also able to sustain through a shit ton of damage, so it's one of those heroes that's really difficult to kill, and once you get the hang of it and you start to become a little bit more proficient on the hero, you're going to see how much impact you can actually get from this hero. He's also not very easy to shut down in the lane thanks to healing ward. You're able to just reset quite quickly, and that's very important in a carry. He's also really good with heroes like Crystal Maiden. The Crystal Maiden Juggernaut lane is one of the stronger lanes. Heroes like Grimstroke as well are also really good with Jug. Definitely keep this hero in mind and bring him to your hero pool. You're going to be winning a lot more MMR thanks to him. The next carry we're going to be taking a look at is Dragonite. Now, Dragonite is one of the newer carries because mostly Dragonite's always been either a mid laner or an off laner, but you could dabble in the dark arts of playing the Dragonite carry. He is super meta right now, especially in the carry position. You could still play him mid, you could still play an off lane, but I think his best position right now, especially with the Fire Dragon facet, which basically gives you splash damage, and it's also stronger in dragon form. The more heroes are grouped up, the more damage you're going to do with this dragon, and he's just pumping out a shit ton of damage. My favorite build right now for the carry Dragonite is the Armlet into Sanjayasha. Very strong build, and then you pick up items like Daedalus, Bloodthorn, and you just go in and do as much damage as possible. You could still go for the blink build. I'm just not a big fan of playing carry Dragonite with a blink. I prefer items like Silver Edge or items of that nature. I'm not a really big fan of just wasting a slot on the blink dagger if there is initiation on my team. If there's no initiation on my team, then I definitely will have to pick up that blink dagger. If there's already an initiator on my team, then I won't worry about it as much, and I will just get the Silver Edge because you're going to be doing so much freaking damage with that crit, and especially if you have your Daedalus going, you're going to be able to go toe to toe with some of the best carries in the game right now. So don't sleep on the Dragonite. The hero has incredible sustain, super reliable, super difficult to kick out of lane, and thanks to his passive, he now has cleave, so you're able to farm a lot faster than before. He used to be a pretty slow farmer. Now you're able to farm a lot faster, and the more attack speed you have, the better it's going to be. And you're also good up against illusion heroes, so you could pick up a Mjolnir plus your cleave plus your splash damage. You're going to be taking care of some of the best illusion heroes in the meta right now, which they aren't too meta right now. Naga Siren's usually being played as a support. It's not the type of hero that's super popular, but you could definitely pick up the Dragonite against illusion heroes, and your dragon form just pushes towers super quickly. Very strong hero to add to your arsenal. The next hero we're going to be taking a look at in the offlane category is going to be Lycan. Now, Lycan's always been the type of hero where people are pretty scared to pick up Lycan because they think microing his wolves can be difficult, but thanks to his Spirit Wolves facet, you don't have to micro anything. You can just click on it and you're going to be getting HP and attack damage, so it's nothing that you have to micro. So if you're the type of player that just hates micro or hates heroes that have any kind of summons, you don't need to worry about this. You're just going to be doing a whole lot of right click damage, and you're going to be a lot tankier. here. So all you have to do is click your Q, summon them, and they're just going to be revolving around you, but you're not going to be able to control them. So it's a really big benefit to playing Lycan for newer players, because typically summons heroes are among the more difficult ones, and to be very proficient on them, you need to learn how to micro whatever units you may have. So in case of Lycan the wolves, you need to learn how to body block with them. You need to be able to do certain things to get the most output out of this hero. But he just right clicks super hard, has a lot of regen, and he's one of the tougher heroes to actually beat in lane. He's a lane dominator. If you have a pretty decent support that can be quite aggressive, you're going to be picking up kills left, right, and center. And in the case that your carry doesn't have enough damage, you can always go for the right click Lycan. You're going to be doing a shit ton of damage thanks to items like Echo Saber, Desolator. You could also pick up an armlet. You can pick up a Daedalus. There's a lot of items that you can pick up on this hero to make him a really big threat. You can also build auras on the Lycan. I don't like building auras on Lycan, but you definitely could make him a lot tankier and just be more sustainable. And then you go for the Aghanim Scepter and go for the Wolf Bite. So heroes like Tiny benefit quite heavily from Wolf Bite. It used to be a really big strategy back in the last TI, I believe, or the TI before that, and it was really good. It could still work for sure. Tiny is a pretty decent hero in the meta, so Wolf Bite definitely could work if you are a fan of that build. The next hero we're going to be taking a look at is Abidon. Now, Abidon is one of the higher win rate heroes that we're going to be breaking down today with a 55.62% win rate. This hero is absolutely insane. Now, he may not be the most funnest hero, the most flashy hero, but he is very easy to play and super easy to get a high amount of impact from. He's the type of hero that goes into a fight and just soaks all the spells, soaks all the damage, pops borrowed time, and you just live. It's very difficult to bring this hero down, and in most cases when you're a new player, you're going to be out of position pretty much 99% of the time. This is the hero that just doesn't get punished this hard because you have your borrowed time, you have your orthotic shield, you also have your miscoil, not only to do damage and secure kills, it's also to heal up your teammates if need be. You can easily go for the aura build. The right click build is just not as strong as it used to be. I really like the aura build. You get items like Guardian Greaves, you can get a Vlad's. Your Aghanim Scepter is super strong because you're able to heal people in an AoE after a certain amount of damage. It starts firing miscoils once you're in borrowed time, and that could definitely save a team fight. I've won so many team fights off the back of this Aghanim Scepter, so I highly recommend if you're playing offlane Abidon to pick this up and ask your team to group up every time borrowed time is popped, and they're going to heal so much. It's absolutely incredible, and you can easily turn team fights. You can also save your teammates very easily with your orthotic shield. It's a strong dispel, so you're able to do a lot of things. You're able to dispel a lot of ultimates like Pudge Dismember. You're able to dispel and a lot of other things. Very important hero to add to your offlaners pool because you will be winning a lot of MMR with this hero. The first mid laner we're going to be taking a look at is Visage. Now, some of you might be a little bit confused on why I'm picking Visage as one of the best beginner heroes. Now, Visage isn't as complex as he used to be. Now his familiars can actually follow him around, which makes your life a lot easier. One of the harder things about Visage was actually controlling the familiars and getting those stuns out. They've made Visage to the point where he's very easy to actually play. Now, he's very matchup dependent. You can easily get steamrolled. He's not one of these super top meta heroes, but it's a type of hero that really requires you to pay attention to your matchups. It requires you to know your timings and know when to rotate, which is really good because Visage likes to stay in lane, but he's not a slouch. Soul Assumption does so much freaking damage in the side lanes, and you're going to be getting so many kills off the back of this hero. And in the late game, he just becomes much stronger. And the amount of item builds you have to go for Visage are pretty much endless. You can go Auras build just like an offlaner. You could also build them right click or get an Aghanim Scepter. There's a lot of ways you can build a hero, and he's a super exciting hero to actually play. Doesn't require a lot of games, maybe 2 or 3 games to get familiar with the hero, no pun intended, and you're going to be learning on how the familiars work. And once they're beside you and you notice that you don't have to micro them, they're just going to make your life a whole lot easier, and you don't have to stress if your micro is good or if you missed a stun here and there. Just definitely take it easy and learn your matchups, and once you guys have those matchups down, you're going to realize how much MMR you're going to be getting, because most low MMR games don't have a Visage, so you're going to be catching the enemy mid laner off guard. The next mid laner we're going to be taking a look at is Necros. Super easy to play. The Necros has always been a very good mid laner. Some patches, obviously, he's better, some he's not. This patch, he's actually pretty solid solid at a almost 53% win rate, and it's a hero that I've always highly recommended for newer players because you're going to be out of position more likely than not, and it's the type of hero that doesn't get punished very easily. You're super tanky thanks to your Ghost Shroud, you heal so much, and you're also able to get the catch onto heroes like Puck, Ember Spirit, Queen of Pain. Thanks to your Reaper Scythe, you're going to be able to lock them down and get the kill, which in some games it can feel really impossible to kill a Puck. If you have a Necros, you can easily kick them out. And heroes like Centaur, Lone Druid that are super tanky, super difficult to bring down, Necros can easily chew through them thanks to his passive. You're going to always be able to take care of all these big beefy heroes, and he's just one of the stronger heroes in the meta, and you can pretty much build Radiance from the mid lane to get even more impact. Radiance Eternal Shroud is one of the better builds on Necros, and he pretty much builds to stay alive and using his passive as much as possible and just staying in the team fight, surviving. And some games it can feel really impossible to kill this hero, so if your vibe as a mid laner is to sustain, then you can definitely pick up this hero. One of the things you do need to keep in mind, if you're an active player, you shouldn't be picking Necros. He's not a very active hero. He likes to stay and dominate his lane, and pretty much when his whole team is ready to go is when he's ready to go. He's very slow to rotate, very slow movement speed hero. Unless you have a haste rune, then you can definitely go for an easy rotation, but he's not a hero that you want to be running around the whole map with. The next hero we're going to be taking a look at is Vengeful Spirit. We're running into the supports right now with a 51.60% win rate. Facet you guys are going to be using on the Vengeful Spirit is going to be Avenging Missile, which basically adds 0.75 damage per creep that the enemy has killed. So typically, if you're looking to do the most amount of damage, you're going to be casting this on the carry or the mid laner. One of the cores that you see that has the most farm, heroes like Naga, Alchemist, that spend the entire game farming, you're going to be doing a lot of extra damage because they're going to have high CS numbers, and that's going to be really nice. You're also one of the heroes that has a lot going for it. You have your stun, you have swap in your ultimate, you also have minus armor, and you have aura, which is really good with heroes like Drow Ranger. The Drow Ranger Vengeful Spirit lane is really solid, so I highly recommend, if you guys are playing support, ask your teammate to play Drow Ranger. It's a very strong lane, definitely very difficult to shut down, and your missile is always going to be a fantastic tool for you to set up easy kills in the laning phase. And also swap is one of the best abilities that a support can have, because any relocation abilities that you're able to displace an enemy is always going to be really nice, especially if you're on the high ground and you're able to just swap under your tower and stun them. You're going to be getting that kill more likely than not and set up your team with a very high advantage. So it's a hero I always recommend for newer players because she is pretty easy to actually play and get really high amounts of value from. And the last hero we're going to be talking about in today's video is going to be Crystal Maiden. Now, Crystal Maiden is one of my favorite support for newer players. Super easy kit to get involved, and also a very solid laner. Now, she's very squishy, so it's the type of hero that you want to be in the right position or you will be punished, but you do have some tools to actually get away. You have your root, and you also have slows, and you have your arcane aura, which is going to be really good for these heroes that have a lot of mana issues. Heroes like Slark, heroes like Drow, Alchemist, Dragonite, Juggernaut, all these heroes are struggling with mana and also benefit quite heavily from your root. So I really like the Juggernaut, Crystal Maiden lane, the Alchemist, Crystal Maiden lane. Both of these lanes I think are really solid and have very high kill potential. One of the things you got to keep in mind about Crystal Maiden is, even though you have your arcane aura, it's not something you want to max. You want to max your Q and your W first, and then you max your arcane aura, but you at least want to take 1 point because you will be casting a lot of spells, so you will need to keep your mana topped up. So build items like arcane boots to stay even more sustained because you will need it, and the more active you are on the Crystal Maiden, the more mana you're going to need. So try and get a wand, maybe some raindrops, and you're going to be just fine. Very strong hero. Also for Freezing Field, which is her ultimate, goes uncontested. It can pretty much team wipe an enemy team, so get into a really good position in the middle of the fight, cast your Freezing Field, and if you have a Glimmer Cape, you're going to be able to continue channeling that, and you're going to get a bunch of kills, potentially a rampage. I've seen so many rampages from Crystal Maidens. It's a very unexpected hero, but has a lot of potential. Definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments below on which one is your favorite support. If you guys are a new player, I hope you guys learned something. If you guys did, consider subscribing. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for supporting the channel.